right, I got a hat on this morning, and it's an amazing hat that Yipes made. And part of the reason why is because this weekend just kicked my ass, and I'm a little rough around the edges this morning, Cody, and I just want to give you that heads up, bud. Okay, just between stacking firewood and emptying out storage units and moving stuff around in the barn. Whew. Not getting any younger, pal.
You got a barn too?
I got a barn too.
Man.
You know what the problem with barns is when you have something like that, you just fill it full of shit that you don't need. And just trying to move stuff around and make room for the cars and the furniture, the lawn furniture that's got to come in, and I'm just scrambling right now.
We used to put hay bales in ours. Hay bales and sawdust.
Oh no, there's
stuff right from the earth, trees and grass.
No, there's all kinds of stuff.
And cows too, but tractors,
you know what?
That's besides the point.
You know what? One of the things in my yard is a beautiful '88 GTI.
Oh,
I know you'd love that, wouldn't you?
Oh,
yeah, man. You ought to come over sometime. And
I know, can't have too many of those.
No, not at all. Good morning, buddy. We're at 44 degrees, and we'll say a mix of sun and clouds right now. But we got some interesting weather coming. We posted up a little bit about it last night from Roger Hill for the Thanksgiving traveling here over the next couple of days. Just plan ahead, and if you can leave early, do so. I think AAA said that like 55 million people were going to be traveling by car or plane.
Yeah, sounds about
over
right.
It's supposed to be a hell of a lot more than last year. So
yeah, I would imagine that there's probably just going to be some pent up holiday aggression,
of course,
if you will. Like,
of course.
What was it? I think revenge retail or revenge traveling was the
Yes.
term from earlier this year.
That's right.
So I don't see why you wouldn't see it with the holidays this year too.
Yeah, and we're going to sneak Rusty Deweese on before Wednesday, and it could be Wednesday, but we're going to get him on before Thanksgiving anyway to talk about. You say the words pent up frustration that so many of us have, and we're just trying to keep it the heck away from the Thanksgiving table.
Yep.
Oh,
then
the vaccinations and the mask mandates and everything, the politics. Just keep it away from the Thanksgiving table.
It's even more reason to hang up your Christmas decorations before Thanksgiving.
Hey,
right, JD?
Easy now, easy. I'm so glad.
Do you have your tree up yet?
Oh God, no.
No, you should.
No,
we're right in season right now.
I will. Yeah, Sherilyn and I don't get the. We don't get the tree before Thanksgiving, and I know so many people do, and that's their thing. But no, happy Monday, buddy.
Yeah, happy Monday.
How was your weekend?
Pretty good. Did a lot of the same stuff, minus the barn and the wood.
Yeah,
purging storage units, and last weekend I delivered a motor to New Hampshire in my SUV.
Nice.
This weekend I took wheels off a car and stuffed them in my car so I could get snow tires on.
Oh, yeah. That's another thing.
Yeah. Snow tires and winter and all that fun stuff.
This is the time of year, and I think folks that may have lived their whole lives down south, they don't understand. Things bottleneck right now. This is the time of year where we have everything that we have to do, and we have to do it immediately.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, it's continuous. It's all year round. Whereas in the South, you get 1 year of really hot weather, and then 1 year or one 6 month stretch of brutal hot, and then 6 months of passable.
Exactly.
Doable.
Exactly. I know what you're saying.
Yep.
So let's get into it, man. Let's dive in head first here. The executive director of the Barre Area Development Corps is who we have with us, Cody Morrison. You just attended a small business association disaster preparedness type of summit, like a tourism summit, right?
Yeah, Tracy Lewis of the Barre Partnership and we took a road trip on Thursday down to Killington to the Vermont Tourism Summit, and we were able to attend a lot of different classes and workshops that impact the tourism industry, from disaster preparedness to social media to workforce to all kinds of issues. But before we dive into some of those topics, I think a lot of Vermonters throughout the state woke up to a little bit of news this morning.
Yeah.
There may be a successor on the horizon for Senator Leahy. Peter Welch announced his run for the Senate this morning.
Yeah. And many of us are not entirely surprised. I think we saw the writing on the wall right away.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So that that follows the same kind of pattern that Bernie Sanders took when he was in the House for a decade, I think.
Yeah.
And then he ended up running for the Senate in 2007, so kind of the same secession plan here almost,
right,
with Peter Welch. But it'll be curious to see if he ends up getting elected, how that differs from, let's say, if you had a Molly Gray jump in as a fresh face altogether to Washington, whereas Congressman Welch has, quite some experience with federal issues. He's paddled some waters, so I'm wondering what that could mean for resource, getting funding for various programs and projects here like that in Vermont, which we know that Senator Leahy was an absolute titan in doing.
Yeah.
Coming from New Hampshire, we had Senator Jean Shaheen and Senator Hassan, and I thought that my whole concept of what a senator could do and what they could bring for a state just completely changed when I came to Vermont here and just started hearing about what Senator Leahy did. I think it was Howard Dean that once said that Pat Leahy is one of Vermont's biggest industries.
Yeah.
Just with the amount of money that the guy's brought in is just incredible. But he's chairman of the Judiciary Committee, I think, what was it, Ways and Means in the Senate. So that's going to be hard to replace.
Yeah, of course. Experience is everything.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But, good for him for wanting to take a few years off. And
it's high time.
Yep, high time. And but it should be the dominoes are starting to fall right now for representation. So probably you'll probably see congressional announcements soon. I believe Governor Scott's going to be staying where he is. I think he swore off a Senate bid, so that top spot. But you might see more moving around in Congress and lieutenant governor, and then maybe some of the Senate, state Senate seats. Yeah,
you watch this stuff. You watch the waters very carefully, don't you?
Well, it's good to know. We have a relationship with the Senate offices. So I spoke with Senator Leahy's office about earmarks before. Senator Sanders' office. The city has a couple earmarks in right now. One of them through Congressman Welch's office. That's going to be for the Quarry Hill Road project. They're going to expand the road if it all goes according to plan. That road will be expanded with a turning lane, and there will be a traffic light down there, and that'll expand the bottom part of Quarry Hill Road, which will help with freight shipping and safety. Coming up into down from Quarry Hill Road. And we have one in through Senator Sanders' office right now for Wastewater Infrastructure project. Not the most exciting thing to hear about on a Monday morning, but it goes to show how who is representing us in Washington has it shows a direct connection to how it can help on the local level. So. I think if Congressman Welch gets elected, he'll have a lot of staff. There's going to be a lot of institutional knowledge, so I would think that he'd be able to hit the ground running in the Senate.
Yeah. Wastewater infrastructure. Yes.
Exciting stuff. It's you use the facilities, you turn on the tap, you take a shower, you drink some water, and it's easy to forget about everything it's a big supply chain, if you will, just to get it to the point to where you can turn on the faucet. And
this is so true.
And we have a $1 trillion infrastructure bill that just got signed, and that will have big ramifications for Vermont, and maybe that'll be one of Senator Leahy's last hoorahs with big projects and a big bill here in the state. But a lot of our water sewer lines, there's a lot of communities throughout the state that have 120-year-old water lines. Yeah. So
sure, including us.
Exactly. So infrastructure is not only just a way to help grow a community, but it's a way to help maintain it, and it's a way to help ensure that citizens are getting basic needs from their local governments and their national governments. So that'll be. That's important for Vermont, and clean drinking water, clean facilities. It has ecological ramifications. If you have water lines that are bursting or sewer lines that are bursting, you would have toxic sewage flowing into the rivers or flowing onto the roads and the storm drains. So it's easy. I know there's a big conversation right now that the city is having and the town are having regarding what to do with their ARPA funding, which
I know you're watching that carefully.
In my opinion, there needs to be a big emphasis on infrastructure for that, just so that we can. These systems cost millions and millions and millions of dollars. So the $2.5 million that the city and the town are getting. It's just a drop in the bucket, but at least
look at the price of water in Barre City. It's huge. Has been for a long time.
Yep, and a lot of that goes towards a lot of the when you pay your water bill, a lot of that goes towards maintenance. A lot of that goes to hire people like Bill Ahern and Steve Michelli to make sure that you can turn the tap on and you can take a shower. And
we've been saving up a little bit with these. With that money, we've been trying to put some money in the coffee pot for that new water line that's going to be running into the city at some point, whenever the hell that happens.
Yep, and Vermont's issue with water infrastructure, wastewater infrastructure, is not unique to us. It's really throughout the Rust Belt. It's throughout the Northeast. I dealt with these issues over across the river. You have industry that was a big infrastructure that was built up in during the last century when we were essentially the world's factory. So the granite industry back in the 1950s and 60s was a lot bigger than it is today, even though it's still a major player. So you had a community and an infrastructure that was built up at one point, then you have a loss of industry, and then you have fewer people, fewer businesses to maintain all that. So our infrastructure issues just aren't going to be going away. They're not going away until we do something about it. And there are also legal obligations that public works and departments and city municipalities face, and making sure that those systems keep running. So, $2.5 million, $2 million it's a drop in the bucket. There are projects that cost that much alone that we have. So, there are things that you can do to kind of set yourself up for, set projects up for grants. Like you can do engineering designs, put it on the shelf, and wait until the next grant program comes up. There's capital improvement planning that you can do. There's there's a number of things that you can do to set your community up for long-term success in that field.
I think it was, please don't quote me, but I think it was Leahy that said that we needed over $1 trillion worth of just paving alone in the state of Vermont.
I believe it. It's
just paving.
And with how our rivers run, with our inclement weather, a lot of that can be just taken out over a weekend.
Yeah.
We saw that with Irene,
of course we
a
did.
decade ago.
Of course we did. Matter of hours.
So planners and civil engineers and construction companies are constantly having to rethink how we design and how we build these systems.
So this was part of the discussion during this tourism summit at all?
That was not, no, but I wanted to, I guess we got sidetracked a little bit with talking about the shuffling around in Washington.
That's all right. I'm thinking of disaster preparedness.
But
it's not just Mother Nature. It's pandemics and other things that can really quickly take a toll on a business.
Oh, absolutely.
We've seen it,
and we're still seeing that right now.
Of course, we are.
Last March, all of a sudden the sky started falling in the middle of March, and then businesses had to on the go. They had to figure out what they were doing, how they could do their business differently.
Everybody was caught with their pants down. Everybody,
but a lot of kind of disaster, business disruption preparedness can be applicable to whether we're in a pandemic, to whether there's a flood that comes through the aired out studios, or if all of your employees quit one day, or whatever major catastrophic event that can happen to a business could be applicable to disaster preparedness. And let's say you wake up one day and Charlene and Raylene have been abducted by aliens, and your equipment's gone too. So then what do you do? How do you get on the air the next day? How do you continue your business?
That's right.
And it really breaks down into 4 kind of main areas to look at. Kind of what is the leadership structure of your organization, and what are some of your organizational policies and inventories, and then there's how do you keep your financial records, and then there's also the marketing part of it as well. You can't forget about that. You can keep on doing providing the service that you provide, but you still have to be able to get the word out.
If I lost either one of them, I'd be screwed. First off, secondly, I'd be calling you immediately, trying to find out what
I don't
kind
know
of grant I could get.
I don't know a ton about the podcasting business, so I don't know if I could replace Raylene, but I could give it a try. But that's where it'd be important to know administrative things like, do you have a chain of command?
Yeah, right.
Do you have any established employee contact protocols? So if you're a 2-person company, so it's relatively easy, but I would think the chain of command would almost be you and Raylene kind of
Sure.
I wouldn't say one over the other. It'd probably you two work collaboratively a lot.
Yeah.
So
and
do you have any backups for any of your system data?
Right.
Yeah. Luckily, you're
scaring me right now, dude.
All of your content is online, but then what happens if your stuff gets hacked and all of your stuff gets wiped out?
Scaring the shit out of me, bro.
Oh yeah, and one thing we learned that was interesting regarding commercial insurance was COVID isn't covered under a lot of commercial insurance policies because of Legionnaire's disease.
Really?
Yeah, never knew that. But how that was handled had impacts on the commercial insurance industry and commercial policies. So that's very that's very interesting.
Surprised to hear that.
Yeah,
at the very least, surprised.
Continuing to go back to you as an example, who are your suppliers? If you're looking at kind of your organizational preparedness, knowing who your suppliers are and who your vendors are. You've got your presenting sponsors, so those are your 15 to 20, and you don't regularly buy goods and services, and the Aired Out podcast doesn't need to buy things. So,
but so many do though.
But so many do. The quarry, let's take them for example. They need to have a produce supplier. They need to have an HVAC technician. They need to have somebody that can come in and work on their dishwasher and their walk-in coolers, and then they need to have contractors just for general building maintenance.
Right. And they need to do it immediately.
Yep.
Like not tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Now.
If turning back to you, if Charlene and Raylene were abducted by aliens, you would have to pretty much take the entire wheel. You'd have to take the entire steering wheel and get yourself familiar with all your other suppliers and vendors and contacts that that may have been delegated to her.
Sure.
And then you also have to look at your company assets. So for you here, you've got your cameras, you've got your microphones, you've got your monitors. Your assets are there's probably some digital intellectual property that you would have as well, as I would think. Your Facebook page with your couple thousand followers, I would think that could be looked at as an asset because you have a reach that is so many people big. But let's say if something were to happen and all of this stuff here would be gone, how would you be able to? You would probably file a commercial insurance claim.
Yeah.
But how would you prove that? Yeah. Do you have pictures of everything?
Yeah.
Do you have? For some reason, if there's a burglary here, how would you be able to prove that you have all this equipment here? And granted, your work is completely done on a recorded basis, so it'd be easier for you to do that than it would be for a lot of businesses that don't conduct all of their business on live, in real time.
Sure.
Wow, but
fascinating stuff.
Keeping all of your financial and legal documents. Access to a couple years of tax returns, list of credit cards with 1-800 numbers that each store uses, just in case if you have a company credit card, if that gets stolen for some reason. Everyone that you do business with, let's say if you shop at Obashan Hardware, having the 1-800 number to Obashan Hardware to dispute any charges would be good.
Hillary just wrote a great comment here. FEMA and Vermont Emergency Management have some amazing classes that can prepare you for many things.
Yep.
So, what was the big takeaway for you when you left Killington? What was running through your head?
I've got to look at everything that we're doing as ourselves as a company. You hear about business disaster preparedness, and you think of your own situation and how could we do business? How can we do business better? The analogy that I'll use, like in our board meetings or just locally, is what would happen if a tree fell on me one day? How would Barre Area Development, or how would the Barre Partnership, or how would the Air It Out podcast? How would you continue doing business? How would you get all those passwords? How would you know when the billing cycles are? How would you know the employee phone tree, for instance? List of all emergency services, that's a really important one. List of all relevant state and local officials, that's an incredibly important one. So, if a flood comes through here, you'll know who to call. You'll know to call Joe Allsworth. You'll know who to call at FEMA. You'll know who to call at the city, or whoever it may be. I remember when the coronavirus pandemic started, earlier in my career, I built up a network in state government, whether it be on the community development finance side. The Agency of Commerce and Community Development would have been that equivalent over here in Vermont, and also spent time in the executive branch. So I knew a lot of the commissioners, and I knew a lot of the elected officials. So when the pandemic hit and we needed to find 100 gallons of grain alcohol to make hand sanitizer for first responders in the community, I knew how to navigate state government to get the cell phone number for the liquor commissioner in New Hampshire, and was able to coordinate a big purchase that day.
You're saying all of this so eloquently. I'm saying when the shit hits the fan, have a plan so that you don't have to think about stuff. Yep. You don't have to look for the information at that point. You've already got it on your fingertips.
Yep.
And it's I'm kind of the old school hard copy guy. I like paper.
Yeah.
Just a paper guy. I don't know. That's just me. I just love paper.
It's nice having it in front of you, and this is something that this was a lot of this is via a checklist that was promoted by the Small Business Development Center. So this is something that I have a hard copy of, but I'm going to be posting online just so the community can have it. But this is something created by a gal named Deborah Boudreau. I'm sure I butchered that name. Of the Small Business...
Boudreau!
And she's of the Small Business Development Center down in the Brattleboro area.
Yeah.
So... she works on these types of issues specifically, but this is something that the business community, even in your own household, in your own personal lives, governments, need to know and need to be thinking of when pandemics and things happen, or your coworkers are abducted by aliens one day, and all of a sudden you have to run your company by yourself. But I think another big part that is with our current kind of business economic issues right now that really kind of overlap into the business or the disaster preparedness part is employee retention. So right now, a lot of employers are having difficulty finding help and retaining help. Right now, entry-level employees have more leverage in the labor market than they do at any point in my life. Right now, it's a great time to be an entry-level worker.
Yes.
It is a great time to be. And
you're seeing more and more of folks saying during interviews to the employer, "What are you going to do for me?"
Well, and
I need you to be flexible on my schedule, and on Wednesdays, I'm bringing my dog to work. By the way,
I think,
and I want Green Mountain coffee in the break room.
So there,
it's true.
So, according to the Department of Labor, there are 30,000 fewer workers in Vermont now than there were before the pandemic.
Yeah, we just had some stats that broke a few days ago on this about Vermont, and that's right.
And so of those 30,000 fewer workers, about 13,000 of them are estimated to not return to the workplace, whether that be for retirements or Social Security or other reasons. But that leaves about 17,000 people that may be out there kind of in limbo. And I think you're getting a lot of people that are shifting their jobs, but I think over the pandemic, you had a lot of people that were furloughed, and a lot of people, and I don't have any data to back this up, but I would think a lot of people had some time to be at home, had a lot of time to think and to reflect and to
no doubt
wonder.
Still are.
Do I want to change my job? Do I want to, instead of doing this job, do I want to try something new?
Do I want to start my own business? Do I want to be more at home? Do I want to start an at-home business? Do I want to move? Do I want to relocate out of Vermont?
Do I want to move to Vermont? Do I want to work for DoorDash, or do I want to buy crypto currency?
Do I want to continue to be married to this fat old bastard over here? I mean, a lot of things. Yeah,
so there is a lot of reflection, and I would think that people are kind of reevaluating and thinking about what they want to do in life.
Yeah.
And I think these labor issues, these employment issues, are going to go on for another. This isn't something that's going to be over by next year.
Sure.
This is something that's going to be going on for another couple of years, maybe 3 years, 5 years. So
you know what I keep hearing? What I don't know if you do, but every now and then I'll hear someone in the media or a friend say the words, "Yeah, until the next pandemic." Have you been hearing that at all?
I've heard that a few times. I've heard, and another thing with our, with our labor market. In this country, health insurance, healthcare is tied to your employer.
Yeah.
So if you are an employer that doesn't offer health benefits, or if you're an employer in some industries that were uniquely impacted by COVID, you could be at a disadvantage. Whereas if you were to go get like a manufacturing job or or an administrative job of some sort, then you could be, someone could see it, they'd be in a better position that way.
We have some comments here. Can I just throw these at you?
Yeah,
Just
what do we got?
I'm going to just throw them up in the air.
What do we got?
Business continuity 101. Remove single points of failure. Have the high taxes in Barre City, as well as the bureaucratic redundancy, have a negative effect on attracting business in the city, and what is being done on the vacant Main Street shops and all of the other vacant buildings in the city. And then we got another one here. I think. Yes. Each city and town should have an emergency management director, which can assist with plans. Vermont Emergency Management have regional plan coordinators that can assist you with your local emergency management plan. And then there's another one here on taxes. Why haven't the taxes paid that were supposed to be used for roads, and why haven't the wastewater, the spelling here, I'm having a hard time deciphering this, but anyway, we'll go. You'll have a chance to have a look at these comments too here. But there's a few things, just folks that are watching and listening right now.
Yep. So I'll start with the taxes part because that was the one that you led in with. So I have not, from all the businesses that I have spoke with, those that are looking to move to Barre or buy property in Barre or to even expand in Barre, taxes have not come up once.
Okay.
So I was expecting it a lot more.
Interesting.
Coming from a relatively anti-tax state, I was expecting to hear it a lot more, but the number one issue that I hear about over and over again is finding workers. More than the regulatory environment, more than taxes, but what I find with regulations and like Act 250, navigating like downtown zoning laws and things of that nature, the business community is generally willing to, I don't want to say, speak on behalf of every single person. I'm sure there will be differing opinions out there, but the majority of businesses are willing to jump through the hoops as long as they're predictable. So that's one of the issues with Act 250 is that you can get, if you're building something big or you're doing a major renovation, or even if you just want to build something on 10 acres and you want to do, let's say, a handful of single-family homes, you can put 6 figures. You can put a ton of money into a development and then have it killed at the last minute just because somebody in your community doesn't like it. So,
right.
So, as long as the regulatory and the permitting process is predictable, businesses are generally okay with jumping through the hoops. Once it becomes unpredictable, then it takes the profit motive, the incentive away to do it because there's not a guaranteed return. Whereas in any business venture, you're not going to be guaranteed to turn a profit. However, you're judging the market is sometimes easier than judging public officials and regulatory processes and laws.
Yep.
But on the taxes part, it really doesn't come up as an issue in the business community. We've had, over the last 12, 13, 14 months, we've had over 20 business relocations or startups or expansions. So
in Barre City and Barre Town?
Both, but more so in Barre City. I would say at least 3/4 of them have been in Barre City. But you're still seeing people doing major renovations. Mulligan's, a restaurant, they just did their big expansion. You've got Green Tax Service in the Made in Brazil restaurant. They just did their facade project over at the former Project Independence building. Nelson's Hardware, they just bought out they're renting the other half of or the former Pool World space now.
Sure.
So there's a lot of shifting in the real estate market. And that's one area where the tax stabilization policy we talked about last week, that's one area where it's designed to help, where you can kind of defer a portion of property tax payments for big improvements just for a few years. So the city basically says, okay, we'll hold off on seeing all the property tax revenue for a couple of years if it means that you'll put money into your building, or you'll buy or you'll grow your business, whatever it may be. So that's one area that is designed to help in. Now,
just don't put a lap pool in your backyard. But anyway, as you're saying, great point. This is. You know what I like about you is that you can take something that's complicated like this and break it down for us.
That's the goal. You know, a lot of my. It's interesting being in my world because we are a liaison between the business community and the municipality. And we
well said.
The nature of our work, is more coming from the perspective of the municipality because we are publicly funded. However, though, our job is to go to businesses to break down these programs and to put it in layman's terms in hopes that you will take advantage of something, or you'll apply for that grant, or you'll know who to go out for that business loan for. And so a lot of it's constant education, which is why I'm here right now.
That's right. Several months ago, we had a gentleman in here. I think his name was Bob Purvis from Turning Point. Am I right, Raylene? And he was talking about the relocation of their center over there, the Turning Point Center, and looking at some other properties in and around Central Vermont. We have been continuously passionate about the subject of addiction and overcoming addiction, and really airing that out over the last especially the last year. Any movements or development on any of that? I lost touch with Bob. I haven't talked with him in a couple of months since he was on. We should have him back. And we will.
Absolutely, and I'm sure Bob would be welcome to come back. He's just a very passionate, very knowledgeable guy, very easy to talk to. He took a cold call from me recently, and that led to, I think, a half-hour, 40-minute conversation. But what that's referring to is the Turning Points Network of Central Vermont. So they're a drug, alcohol recovery organization. So they focus
life
more
coaching.
They focus on the addiction kind of life skills building field, and they are they recently partnered with Central Vermont Medical Center in what's called the Central Vermont Prevention Coalition.
Fantastic. We had them on the podcast. They were great, and they're coming back, Raylene, right? They're coming back.
So they are, that's kind of a cohort of social service agencies, medical organizations that are taking the broader issue of addiction recovery and breaking down the silos for service delivery. So instead of looking at overdoses as a hospital issue, as an emergency issue, instead of looking at recovery as a long-term clinic issue, they're really taking a collaborative, holistic, kind of value-based approach to addressing the bigger issue right here. So there's, I think, 10, 15 partner organizations in this broader coalition that Turning Points is now part of. So with that,
Washington County Mental Health in there too.
Washington County Mental Health in there too. So the Turning Points Network, they've been a big player in Barre. They're located up on North Main Street right now, and they're
but they need a bigger space.
And they're seeking some funding right now, and they're looking to expand their services.
Anything else? What are we missing here? I know we're missing something. I'm just glancing. Oh, you mentioned earlier. You said a couple of buzzwords that every time I hear these words, it makes me stop. And you said the words supply chain.
Oh yes.
And
the
by now, you unless you've been living in a cave, you have probably noticed more and more empty shelves or delivery delays for everything, from toilet paper to toys, smartphones, even supermarkets, restaurants, school cafeterias are missing shipments. And there was a big thing in the news over the weekend that some of the high demand toys that are coming out for the holidays, for Christmas, are going to be really hard to get. And it doesn't matter where you
Yep.
try to get them; they're going to be hard to get no matter what. And I don't know if they're all sitting on a barge in China, waiting to pull out of port, or what the deal is there. But there's multiple issues here. Once this stuff arrives to California, if it even does, then we've got to move it on the ground.
Yep.
And we've got a shortage of truck drivers. This has been referred to as a crisis.
Oh, absolutely. And before I dive into that, there's one other question that I didn't get a chance to address. And let's see, why haven't the taxes paid that water is supposed to be used? So I understand a lot of the so there's a question regarding in the chat referencing property taxes that have been paid in, and the allocation of tax dollars to fixing roads versus water systems. And so I know a lot of the, and this is just from me having worked on a public works project and really got to dive into it over the summer. A lot of the funds right now that are paid through like water fees, sewage fees, and money allocated towards public works from the city's general fund, a lot of it's maintenance. There's not a ton of proactive work that's done just because of the amount of work that there is to do. Bill Ahern would probably be a better question. Will probably be a better person to ask, specifically on the budgeting side of it.
I would love to get Bill in here.
Oh, I think you'd enjoy talking to him. And I know there's also a question regarding affordable housing, low-income housing, seeking a developer. So coming out of the All In for Barre, the Vermont Council on Rural Development Community Forum series, there are 3 task forces that grew out of that. One of them was for a community center. The other one was to look at how to gain or better utilize the river access. And the third was a housing task force. And the housing task force has met. We're going to be meeting again in December. That's one that we're part of. And I think, and I've been a long advocate of this, is that we need to leave all options on the table regarding the housing. How we're going to address the housing issue.
Sure.
How do we best engage the private sector? How do we best engage property owners to look at housing rehab projects, investment properties, buying a duplex and putting money into it?
We talked about this with Stone and Browning.
Yep, we talked about this with Stone and Browning. Can we encourage people to develop tiny homes? Why not? They're cool.
Yeah,
and I think they would be a big hit for Barre because people like that type of thing. That's the type of thing that will get us more positive media coverage and encourage people to take a second look at us.
Yeah.
And of course, with that, I'm sure there's going to be some workforce housing, affordable housing provisions and recommendations that'll come out of the task force. But I think addressing the housing issue, there needs to be a big emphasis on owner-occupied or single-family, multifamily housing rehab, just so we can improve our existing housing stock.
Yeah.
Because Barre City has 3.96 miles. That's how big Barre City is, 3.96 miles. So there's not a ton of room to build new. Now, there certainly is. You can demolish, you can buy land. There are subdivisions throughout the city that have been permitted and are there. But I think taking a community-wide approach to the housing issue is going to get us the best results, and not just getting a few developers, not just getting a few agencies, but encouraging just your random everyday homeowner to get them the information or connect them with the programs they need to renovate their home.
Not long ago, I noticed on Route 1 driving through Wells, Maine, that somebody would buy a small piece of land, and they literally would stack containers on top of each other, like 4 high. And turn them into apartments. Same story in Rhode Island, right on the beach, like right on the damn beach.
Well, and now there's a whole market. There are companies that will do design build and will actually build these little tiny homes, or the container homes. I'm sure there are ones out there that do that too. But the companies that have historically built sheds that you can buy and put on your property are now getting into creating, like 400, 500, 600 square foot little homes.
I know.
It's pretty cool. And we have the zoning in the city here to allow for some of that. So there's one zone, land use zone, that goes from like Brook Street, does like a zigzag thing and goes towards Courier Park, but that allows, or the density in there allows for tiny home construction and development. So there's the 2 up on Brook Street, the Down Street owns right now, that the Norwich students came and helped to build. And I've been doing some research on those, and it's pretty cool how people are getting creative with where they want to live. So I think you're going to see more and more of that, and I think it's something that we need to leave on the table. But going back to your last question before this one about supply chains. So the supply chain issue isn't going away anytime soon either. So we're going to see little disruptions and little weird things in the economy happen over the next handful of years, just because we had a once-in-a-century global pandemic, and we're a very interconnected world economically right now. So maybe back in the 1920s and 1930s, we had more of our consumable goods, more like plastics and cheaper things to make. More of those were produced here, and there was just less. The complexity of our consumer products 100 years ago are not nearly what it is now. Like you couldn't go on Amazon and buy an iPad or something, or a Kindle or a drone. Like that just didn't exist.
And now you can get your toilet paper.
Right. So now we have incredibly complicated supply chains and products. So this is something that we're going to be seeing for some time here. But that emphasizes the importance of buying locally. We've got a lot of cool stuff here in Main Street.
Of course we do.
You can buy gift cards. You can buy classes. You could go up to the Rock of Ages Visitor Center and you could buy some things up there. You could go to Studio Place Arts and you could buy a couple arts classes for a friend. You could go to the Quarry and you could buy a gift card.
One of our sponsors, Wood Doodles, which is right here in Barre. They make these super high-end cutting boards and serving trays and coasters, and they do all kinds of custom work with these absolutely gorgeous cutting boards, and we've got a lot of them on display here. I mean, it's just there's so many different creative ideas.
Absolutely.
You can't get that on Amazon.
Nope.
You just can't.
And a lot of people are going to Amazon to buy things that say Vermont on them. You don't have to go far to buy that stuff here. That's a great that's a great thing about it.
Go over to Emsley's.
But another important thing to remember if we're talking about the supply chain issues is there's a huge truck driver shortage.
Big time.
That is tough work.
And the average age of the average truck driver in America is 55. Think about that.
That is. I mean, I grew up milking cows and picking corn and driving tractors, and I grew up doing manual labor. I want nothing to do with driving a truck for a living. I give those people a lot of credit. However, though, if anyone is out there that is interested in that
that's right.
Wants to go and pursue that for a career, typically, there are a couple schools in the area, in the state, that do that. There's one right here in Barre City, but right now. There's RPR Driving School. That's a venture started by Bellavance Trucking. They're over by Air Street, over by the high school. So if you want to go and drive, and All right, let's take you. Let's take you, JD. If you want to go and give up the mic and trade it in for a steering wheel and 18 wheels, then you could apply through RPR Driving School. That's a Bell Advanced Trucking affiliate. And if you could apply to be a driver, and if you pass the background checks and drug tests and all that, then they will put you through the schooling to get your CDL.
Which is thousands of dollars.
Thousands of dollars. Like, that's to get your CDL normally without a partnering or a sponsor company like that. You're talking student loans. You're talking maxing out your credit cards. You're talking emptying your savings, selling your RPR Driving School takes that out of the equation. So that is, you have to. I'm going to put that in the chat while I'm saying this here. You're able to do this in exchange for driving for Bell Advance for 2 years.
Yeah.
And that's a long time Barre company that has really, thrived and was, I believe, created in part to service the granite industry, because there's not a lot of trucks that will take granite just because it's such a huge, heavy product.
That's right.
But if, one way locally that you can help the supply chain issue is you can find a friend who wants a career change. You can go apply yourself. You can work at Bell Advance to drive trucks for a couple of years and get your CDL.
And man, you could sit and just punch into Google and read all about. You could read all night about the national shortage of truck drivers.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is making it harder for goods to quickly reach warehouses, which themselves are understaffed. So we've got multi-tiered issues here. And I mean, there's one company out in I can't remember where. I want to say Nevada. $12,000 up to $12,000 a week. That they're paying. I mean, you're driving
the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah, you're driving for sure. And if you get in there with a team, one of you is resting and the other one's driving. $12,000 a week.
And in the Sun Belt, the Rocky Mountain region, that they're growing too. People are people are leaving the Northeast and the Midwest and going out to those areas. So those are regions of the country that are growing quickly.
Yeah.
Driving through the Rocky Mountains, that would be.
I know.
They don't give them snow tires either.
Well,
maybe out there, who knows? Maybe somebody in the chat knows better about that, or knows more about that than I do.
If you're doing all of your holiday shopping online, please don't bitch and moan when your stuff hasn't arrived on time. Yep. There's never this crunch that we're under right now is massive, bigger than any other year. So even if you're ordering early, don't be surprised if it's not at your house by Christmas. Rethink your spending and your buying habits, whatever they may be. And we all love to sit in the convenience at home in our underwear, on our computers, buying whatever we want to buy and letting our thumb do all the work. But rethink that.
Yeah, or next time you're running to the gas station, or next time you're going to get a bite to eat downtown, stop in a Vermont Bicycle, or stop in a Emsley's, or stop in any one of the other stores here where you know that there's no supply chain shortage when there's a product with a price tag right in front of your eyes.
Hello.
So
R&L Archery. Yep. I mean, the list goes on. The list goes on.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can buy here.
And you can get it all done in a matter of a couple of hours. And you go home and pour yourself a glass of wine and sit down and relax. And know that whatever the percentage is, and I don't know what it is, but for every dollar that you spend locally, a certain percentage stays right here.
Yeah,
I think it's 3%.
It's not going to a corporate headquarters in Atlanta, or it's not going to San Francisco. It's staying right here.
Right. Amen.
Yep.
That's it right there. We're going to bang this drum a few more times.
Oh yeah.
Before Christmas. Not because we have to, but just because it's the right thing to do.
Well, we do have to. We do have to, and if there's an expectation to have your gifts and your products here before a certain time on a deadline, you can if those deadlines are important to you, then you can go right down here in downtown, or you can visit any one of our attractions, or you can probably go right to someone's Facebook page. You can probably go right to the Corey's Facebook page and order a gift card through them if you want.
That's right.
I mean, Melissa, if you're listening out here today, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the flexibility, and
sure.
that's what you get with a local business.
Of course.
You know the owner. You can.
Yep.
If as long as you shop locally, there's no reason that you won't be able to check off all the boxes on your list.
This is so true. I got to find out the name of this company that's paying up to $12,000.
It's incredible.
A week to be a truck driver. I'll find out. I'll get them on. Recently,
you'll get them on.
Oh, I definitely, for sure.
Be interesting.
We just not too long ago had a Superior Court judge in Franklin County that took the unprecedented step of dismissing hundreds of pending criminal cases in the interests of justice based on a case backload that measured into the thousands. The backlog was exacerbated by COVID, of course, and the judiciary's new case management system. And in the days since that happened, some are now asking, actually many are asking, what's going to happen in Washington County. Rory Thibault is going to come in just a little bit, our Washington County State's Attorney, and we're going to talk about this in just a little bit. He'll be in here in a few minutes, which is going to be a very interesting discussion, at the very least. So we're going to shift gears and get ready for Rory. Thank you for not only being a sponsor of Barre Area Development, being a sponsor of the Aired Out podcast, but also your support far beyond that. And the insight and the information that you bring to the microphones every Monday is imperative, and it is paramount to what we need locally. We need a local voice to be airing this stuff out.
Yep. Well, thanks for having me on, and thank you to everyone in the chat too.
Yeah,
it's
and we got some more.
Yeah,
too.
That's a fun part of our Mondays when people will go into the chat and will ask questions about the economy or businesses. It's
civic engagement in the purest form.
Oh, absolutely. Right. Absolutely, and I know this isn't the most this isn't the most exciting topic in the world a lot of times. But
especially when you get talking about wastewater treatment facilities on a Monday morning. Are you kidding me? God.
Yeah. Oh, fun stuff.
Thanks for coming in, brother.
Yeah, good seeing you.
Always good to see Cody Morrison on a Monday. Thanks to our presenting sponsors. And as we just mentioned, Barre Area Development is one of them, one of the big ones, along with Green Mountain Mulch, which is located up in Derby. They are amazing, and this is not the kind of mulch company that just shuts down once there's a snowflake in the air. They're running year-round and filling up their trucks and distributing all over not only Vermont, but parts of New England, including New York State, too. Green Mountain Mulch. Fecto Homes, the Beckley Hills Meadows. Have you been up there? Have you had a chance to? Incredible.
Oh, it's great. It's incredible development up there, and hopefully there's some more.
Yeah, we need them. They're building homes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're busy. They're not sitting on the couch just because the cold weather has come in. No. Salvador and Babic, as we get ready for tax time, which has frankly, never been more complicated than right now. Leave the worry and the concerns and the questions and the trouble up to the pros over at Salvador and Bavick. Central Vermont Chamber of Commerce, we're talking about buying local. Every time we do, Kevin Eschelbach, it gets his attention up at the Central Vermont Chamber of Commerce. But they're great people up there. If you're not a member, I don't know what you're waiting for. You ought to consider it. We're members. We're all members. So if you're not, get in touch with the Central Vermont Chamber of Commerce and find out all they can do for you, which is a ton, by the way. FGB Theaters, we've been telling you all along, if you need to get out of the house, you need to escape that family that's visiting for the holidays. You want to just disappear for a couple of hours responsibly? Go to the movies. Paramount Theater right here in Barre is wide open. Capitol Showplace Theater in Montpelier. We're always posting up listings of what's playing, and there's some great stuff that's coming out of Hollywood. So go see one. Go by yourself if you need to. Capitol Showplace Theater is serving beer and wine, too, so you can sit down and have a drink and watch a movie alone if you wanted to. Gusto's, they just had another fantastic weekend. Raylene, how was that? Did you go to that Widows weekend? You did not. You did not. Well, we're told that it was a fantastic weekend 2 weekends ago for the crew over at Gusto's, and they're doing some really cool stuff for Thanksgiving too. They're basically giving away free Thanksgiving meals, and if you'd like to make a donation, they're going to turn around and put it towards local charities. CW Creative, which is right here in the Granite City. Formerly known as Copy World, decades and decades ago. But, yeah, we love them. Vermont Custom Woodworking, ASB Financial, the Barre Montpelier Times Argus, Donnybrook Fight Promotions. We have your tickets, by the way, for the Battle in Barre 6 right here at our studios if you'd like to get them. It's coming up soon, so get on it. Wright Electric, Wood Doodles, Gauthier's Quality Grounds and Maintenance, Preston's Kia, Granite City MMA, and Barslow Construction. Rory Tebow up next in just a little bit right here on Aired Out.